Hello there, my brainwashed thoughts. This is Joshua, the heretic, coming at you today. I wanted to discuss with you how to at least get atheists on the same page to admit that there could be a God, and that's a huge order. And it's a tough call, but I think we can do it. So, there's this thing in the Bible where the Apostle Paul is preaching to the Greeks. And he comes upon this idol to the unknown God, because the Greeks don't want to offend any god. So if they don't know of a god existing, they make an idol to it just so it doesn't get offended. And so he takes this. Paul goes to this idol and he freaking says, "This is to the God of the Jews, and you blah blah blah. You worship him. You don't know how, but I'm going to tell you how you do it." And so he uses what they have. Well, modern day, we don't worship any idols. In fact, most atheists think that idol worship is retarded, even though they watch movies like crazy. Anyway, I digress. So, what atheists do believe in, ironically, is science. Now, if you talk to any theoretical physicists, they talk about how there are other dimensions. We live in the third dimension. The third dimension has space, it has height, width, blah blah blah, and we kind of live in a sliver of time. Okay, a sliver of time. But we can pretty much travel anywhere we want. But the point is, we exist in three dimensions and we live on a sliver of time. Now, there's a scientist called Carl Sagan, and he did this awesome little bitty, and I dig it. He, to explain the fourth dimension, tried to use a two-dimensional device so that we, as three-dimensional peoples, could perceive what it would be like to be a fourth-dimensional person. Bear with me. So he had this piece of paper on the ground, just like that, and he had like this little circular cutout, and this was the second two-dimensional guy, and he built like these strips, these like borders for a house, and that was the two-dimensional house. And then he had like a little safe and a couple walls and doors and stuff like that for the little guy, but it's all two-dimensional. It's like not three dimensions, it's just flat. And we roll up as a three-dimensional being, say, "Hey dude," and he's like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Hi, I'm a three-dimensional being." And he looks up and he's, alright, and he looks around, he looks to his left, looks to his right, looks forward, looks back, and he's like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "I'm above you." And I'm like, "What are you talking about, above? There's no above. What is this above you speak of?" Above you speak of. And we're like, "Well, I'm a third-dimensional being, and we have an above and a below, and he's like, "I don't understand what you mean. Could you explain what above and below is?" And we're like, "Not really, no." So what we're going to do is I could show you. It's like, "How do I know that you're really there?" And I'm like, "Well, I can do things that you can't do because I'm a three-dimensional being." Like, "So you're the three-dimensional person, you're looking in the house." He's like, "I can prove to you that I'm a three-dimensional being because I can see what's in your safe." He's like, "How can you see what's in my safe? My safe is locked, it's closed, you can't see inside of it." And I'm like, "Yeah, actually I can, because I'm over it." Over? What is this over you speak of? "Well, I know you have $200 bills and a pearl necklace." Whatever, I don't even know. And he's like, "How did you know that?" "Because I can see over your safe." Your safe only has walls, it doesn't have a bottom or a top. It's like, what is this top and bottom you keep speaking of? So with this in mind, you're starting to understand the concept. If I poked a hole in the two-dimensional universe, I couldn't manifest my full body in the two-dimensional universe. I could do a cross-section of myself and just see like a sliver of me. Like I could put my finger through it, I'd be like, "Shh," and all you see is this like little circle or oblong shape of where my finger intersects with the two-dimensional universe. But they couldn't really fathom a three-dimensional being. I could lay as flat as I could line my body up as best I could with the two-dimensional universe so that people could get the best outline of me, and I could turn and so they could see me get a whole bunch of different outlines and say, "This all applies to the same guy," but they still wouldn't get it. You know, they'd be like, "How does that apply to the same guy?" So, moving on. Now, you go up to an atheist and you say, "Do you believe in dimensions?" And then they'll be like, "Yes, I believe in dimensions." Well, any atheist worth his salt will understand what a dimension is. And then I'll be like, "Okay, so you believe in dimensions, right?" "Yes." "And we live in the third dimension?" "Yes." "Okay, what if there was a fourth dimension?" "Okay. Now let's say there's a fourth dimensional being." "Okay. Now let's say this fourth dimensional being, since time happens simultaneously with him, kind of like we live in multiple planes of two dimensions simultaneously. A fourth dimensional being would live in multiple presents simultaneously. Okay? So it's the present all over the place all the time. You know, we only live in a sliver of present, but he lives in all presents constantly at the same time. Now, would that guy know stuff that we wouldn't know? Would that guy seem to have powers that we wouldn't have? Would that guy seem to blah, blah, blah? Like, we could transport back and forth through a two-dimensional plane pretty easy. We put our finger here, pick it up, move it over, put it back down. We've just went up, over, and then down. But it would look like to them that we teleported. Because in their world, there's no up. We're just like, how'd you get over there? We could be in two places at the same time. We just put our fingers like this. We could be in two places simultaneously. So what I'm doing is I'm telling these atheists, listen, there's a God that's a multi-dimensional being. Beyond 3, beyond 4, beyond 5. This guy, this entity is beyond our dimension. And he knows things and he sees things and he loves us and he wants us to wants us to have the best we can have. And he wants us to achieve everything we can achieve. And since he knows everything, he can foresee the future and he knows how everything's going to fly, and he tells us what to do, why don't we do the things he tells us to do, and then we'll have a more than blessed life because of what he's given us. Couldn't he then give us immortality if he lives in all presence simultaneously? I would think that'd be pretty easy for a guy that lives in all presence simultaneously. Ironically, this argument slicks them. They cannot, they have to acknowledge that God could exist as some sort of multi-dimensional alien. I hate to put it like that. But they have to admit that there could be a God out there, and there's no way that they can disprove him. So I'm not telling you that this is a way to convert atheists. This is not a way. But what this does is it opens atheists up to accepting that there might be a God. And that's the first step. So I hope this blesses you. Just a heretic. Peace out.
Come on, kitty. Just don't talk for a minute.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna walk in this with the kitty and we eat.
Okay.
And we start. Go get it. Go get it. Eat. Oh, it's already caught.
Oh.